If it's a contract you need to sign inside of your business to work with somebody else, it's a really smart idea to have a lawyer look it over to make sure you're not missing anything, there's nothing that's going to trip you up or cause you trouble. And if you need help negotiating things to make sure it's benefiting you and the other party, you want to make sure that you're having that discussion with a lawyer. But what does that look like? Before you go jumping into a conversation with them where you're spending your time, your effort, and your money on it, this is what it might look like to work with lawyers like this and what you can be expecting. We're going to jump in and have a conversation with everybody's favorite IP and entertainment lawyer, Tony.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
As an entrepreneur, if I am getting a contract from another company and I have to go through and have my lawyer read over it, maybe make some negotiations, what is that process going to look like for me when I go to my lawyer? Let's set some expectations here. What are we looking at, Tony?
Yeah, so I'm going to say first and foremost that every lawyer is different. Obviously, that depends on what their schooling was like, especially when it came to kind of the lawyering skills that they learn in a given class, or just generally speaking from, let's say, an internship, or even just based on the years of experience that they have. So I think one realistic expectation that everybody should set, especially if they're going to work not just with an entertainment lawyer, but with anybody in the legal space, it's to understand that everybody's style will be different. Some are going to be more confrontational. Some are going to be a bit more carefree. Some are going to love the fact that they want to have a lot of meetings because that equals billable hours, equals that moolah. Or there may be people that believe in just kind of keeping things kind of as succinct as possible. So that's one general rule, I think, that it spans across the entire lawyering space. Now, that said, I think that if you're a new client to a lawyer, I think what's probably going to be important beyond even just the contract review, first and foremost, is for the lawyer to get to know who you are. You know, the lawyer will retain you if they have the workload or the capacity to take on that workload. So almost, I hate to say it like this, but kind of think of it like a job interview. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you're all about. What are they actually helping you with? And if there's an alignment in terms of you, the client, and them as the lawyer, that's where you're going to have essentially that sense of synergy that exists between the attorney client. So once essentially once the lawyer willingly accepts, to take on a specific matter for a client, then that's when you kind of get the lawyer to roll up their sleeves and review everything. Sometimes, depending on how sophisticated your matter is, if it's just a simple contract review, it's maybe a matter of maybe an in-depth review, however long that may take. It could be as short as an hour, maybe take as long as maybe 5 hours or a day or whatever, even longer maybe. It takes that time to review, redline, make any necessary corrections to the contract. And, it's at that point where the lawyer sort of sets that expectation that they're acting as your advocate. So they may be the one sending the draft to whoever your counterpart is that you're working with on this contract. It may not be necessarily you, or it may be you, but your attorney or lawyer could tell you, if there's any issue that comes up, loop me into an email so I can handle it on your behalf. And that's mainly because a lawyer may be in a better capacity to outline sort of the legal considerations that are laid out. So for example, if let's say you're working on a brand deal where you're going to provide 5 user-generated content videos spanning no more than a minute for a sponsored campaign that X brand is going to put out. And let's say that there was a clause laid out that the brand will become the exclusive copyright owner of the videos. There may be a situation where the lawyer will want to write, carve that out and say, no, that's not going to happen. The creator will be the exclusive copyright owner. And they may be in a better position to explain why that change needs to take place rather than you, the client. So little things like that, even down to like changes in a boilerplate provision, like an indemnification clause, a cure clause, rep and warranty clause, any of that is all going to be paramount and essential to the process. And lawyers really know what to look for in the contract and what to revise because, again, odds are they've seen enough of them to make that inferred and educated guess as to what changes need to be made. So all that to say, that's generally speaking the process. Again, depending on what your matter is, the ease of working with a lawyer may be easier sometimes, but if you have a more complicated case or a complicated matter, it may require a bit more time-intensive manner, more time, basically. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. We require more time, more energy, more research. If it's a litigation matter, definitely it's going to be the kind of thing where it's not going to be a one-stop shop kind of thing, express style deal with a lawyer. It's actually probably going to be something that's going to be a bit more, intense along the way in terms of the time that's spent working on that and all the research and discovery and what have you. So, generally speaking, I would hope that it's a seamless process working with any lawyer, but certainly with an entertainment lawyer. But depending on what your specific case is, results may vary.
And if we are going to be working with a lawyer, isn't an appropriate question on first meeting or first contact to have a conversation about those expectations and what that's going to look like so that we know what we're looking at timeline wise, how many meetings we're going to have and all those things? Or is it kind of a figure it out as we go and do not ask that upfront conversation?
Absolutely. I am a big advocate of asking those questions early on, just as much as it's a job interview for you, in terms of you, the client, talking to a lawyer. It's also kind of the other way around. You are shopping for a lawyer. You're trying to see who aligns with you best. If you meet Arthur McStuffins, 95-year-old, lawyer who has 70 years of entertainment law experience under his belt, okay, he's got 70 years of experience under his belt, but you may not align with him because maybe he's cranky and also he's old, and you feel like maybe he's not as learned in the subject matter of current entertainment law matters as somebody who's a bit more contemporary. So you could move on with Arthur McStuffins, and then you find Joe Schmo, who is a much more relatable, kind, genuine person. But again, maybe you have alignment issues because maybe his temperament, while he's good and skilled, maybe his temperament isn't something that you align with as a client. But then you meet Susie Q, and Susie Q is the catch. She is the national treasure in terms of an entertainment lawyer. You hire her, you love what she presents, and she does the job. That's what it also means when you're shopping for a lawyer. You're trying to find, the lawyer wants to make sure that they're going to work well with you, but in the same way, you want to make sure that you're also going to work with the lawyer, because as I mentioned earlier, lawyers act as your advocate, and there is something called attorney-client privilege. And you need to feel that comfort, that peace of mind, knowing that you could tell your attorney anything. And you can't fear or feel that stress that you can't talk to your lawyer. And if you do, then you've hired the wrong lawyer. So it's really, really important to know that you ask those questions early on, and you really do have that rapport with your lawyer. That way it makes the process all the more easier at that point.
That makes a lot of sense. And if you have questions on finding the right lawyer for you and setting up those expectations before you get into a working relationship with them, go ahead and drop that down below. Tony is coming back for upcoming episodes to keep us legally protected in the entrepreneurial space. And as always, you can reach out to Tony on his social medias. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor, and you can check out my entertainment law podcast, End Scene, with new episodes dropping every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Drop your legal questions on the entrepreneurial space down below. Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes to help us navigate the world of entrepreneurship and make sure we stay legally protected. And every single day, we're dropping new videos to help you navigate the world of TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, live streaming, Lemonade, and the tools and resources you need to save time and effort creating your social content so you can make this your most profitable year ever on social media in under 5 minutes a day, start to finish, so that you can get back to running your business and living your best life. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.